Voyage. I had wanted to learn how to scuba dive since I was very young, 6, in fact. Saw the first episode of Flipper, and that's just where I knew I had to be. I didn't have the chance to fulfill that dream until I was an adult.
This is Marti Wheat. Marti specializes in something very unique, a totally innovative way to offer a kind of therapy, both physical and spiritual, for veterans. It's called adaptive scuba.
And it's life-changing. The first time I put my head in the water, it fulfilled my vision and my dream so magnificently and so thoroughly that I immediately knew I had to give back. I had to find a way to share this blessing with more people. So when I came back from Bonaire, I signed up to go to the largest scuba and travel expo in the world, which is Beneath the Sea, which occurs in New Jersey every year. And I signed up for several seminars. And one of the seminars wasn't about adaptive scuba at all. It just happened to have a woman who was sitting behind me wearing a New York Aquarium dive team t-shirt. And I don't remember anything about the seminar whatsoever because all I wanted to do was accost this woman and find out how I got to be on the dive team at the New York Aquarium. So seminar was over. I, in fact, tackled this lovely woman, and we had a long chat about it, and I signed up through her advice and tutelage.
Marti's path to adaptive scuba had a detour on the way, the New York Aquarium.
Went through the training and the processes, testing, and all the stuff required to become a diver at the New York Aquarium, which entails going into the exhibits and cleaning the tanks, which is bizarre, but it's so much fun. I did it for 4 years. The only tanks we can't go into are the sea otters and the seals, and that's only because they are extremely playful and can inadvertently hurt us. The otters are so much fun, but they are incredibly mischievous and playful, and they will take your mask off. They will take your regulator out of your mouth. After one of the Beneath the Sea expos, the New York Aquarium, they're a sponsor at Beneath the Sea, and they always have a booth. And so the director of the dive program invited the founder of an organization called Dive Heart to speak to us at a dinner. And so, the expo is at the Meadowlands in New Jersey. There's massive amounts of exhibits and seminars all over the hotels in the surrounding area by the expo center. And so the director of the dive program hosted a dinner, and the president and founder of Dive Heart, a gentleman named Jim Elliott, came and talked to us about the advantages and miracles of adaptive scuba. Why it's invaluable, why it helps people with disabilities, why it is especially important for veterans, people who have suffered catastrophic injuries and went off to save the country and came back blown to hell and having, a lifetime of PTSD and injuries that far exceed what most veterans would have been able to survive in previous wars. To some extent, yes, the catastrophic injuries now are much more catastrophic because Vietnam and the Middle East wars were in conditions Americans were not tailored to. They didn't have any idea how to fight in the jungle in Vietnam. The enemy always had the advantage. And the same goes for the desert. We're not built for it. IEDs didn't exist. The weaponry has become so sophisticated, both from the enemy and from our side, that in days gone by, the medical technology didn't exist. The transportation technology didn't exist. Now they have planes that are literally flying hospitals fully staffed with trauma surgeons and trauma nurses and they go in country and they bring these guys out. So while it's wonderful that people are living, they're living with injuries that are beyond the scope of what most veterans have had to deal with in World War I and II and Korea and on up. So finding ways to help them cope with those injuries, living with their new reality is what we call it. So helping them live with their new reality and accept their new reality is an enormous challenge, especially for their families. And so in comes adaptive scuba. Water is 100% forgiving. Doesn't care whether you can see, doesn't care if you have arms, legs, doesn't care.
Marti likes to fix things, problems, and to whatever degree she could help, people.
I determined that night that I was going to become an adaptive scuba dive buddy so that I could get in the water with people with disabilities, children, veterans, adults. If I see something that I believe I can make better, I do. I rescue animals. I'm just one of those people. And I think that my rescuing animals pivoted off of my passion for adaptive scuba and helping people. To describe the training, you have to learn trust. This is one of the most incredible aspects of this entire thing with adaptive scuba is the degree to which these injured or disabled people have to trust us. So I had to learn how to dive blind. I had my mask blacked out. I had my legs and arms tied down so that I knew what it was like to be a quad and a paraplegic. It's mind-altering to not have those injuries and then get those injuries so that you can learn how to help other people with those injuries. You come up a different person than you went in. We did our in-pool training where we worked with teammates. We worked with each other and learned various skills. We have to have a little bit better dive skills than just somebody going to the Bahamas to look at the pretty fish. We have to understand that people have these disabilities and injuries. We have to learn empathy for them because otherwise we're useless and we can hurt them. And we have to understand how they function in the water, how we are helping them function in the water, how to absolutely not do something to them in the water. So it was a 2 or 3 day training process. We had to become disabled ourselves and then learn to trust the person assigned as our dive buddy. And that was the hardest part for me. Trusting someone I had never met to not let me drown, to not break my legs and arms. The person I got hooked up with was not in it for the same reasons I was. The physicality of this training is that you're teamed up and you switch off. One person is rendered blind by putting black garbage bags in their face mask. They are made into a quadriplegic or a paraplegic by having their legs and arms tied to their bodies so that they can't move them. The dive buddy's job is to hold the person's elbow, hold the person's whatever part of the body the injured or disabled person is comfortable with you touching. You keep hold of them because they can't help themselves. So, for example, in my case, when I was the dive buddy, I would be diving inverted. I would be face up so that I can watch the person I'm supposed to be helping, so that I can tell if I'm holding them in a way that's uncomfortable. Some of these people have injuries or disabilities that make it horribly uncomfortable for you to grab their arm and yank them along. If they're blind and they don't know where you're going to touch them, it can scare them. There has to be a huge amount of underwater communication, and you can't do that if you're not looking. So the person who was supposed to be my dive buddy, keeping me safe, had me by the elbow and was pulling me She wasn't looking at me at all. It was as if she was diving by herself at 100 miles an hour. She was just booking. And because she wasn't looking, she got my arm, the arm that she was holding, because she was going so fast without looking at me to see if I was able to even keep up with what she was doing. She got my arm wedged under my tank behind my back. It was just going to break because she wasn't paying attention, and she had gotten me into a pretzel sort of situation. So I had to break character and get my arm out of the binding that I had on and get my arm back out from under my tank where she had wedged it. There are a lot of components of adaptive scuba that make it absolutely critical to be in 100% communication above water, on land, and underwater. And it's key to making it a wonderful, valuable, life-altering experience for the person learning to do it. I had less than a sterling experience myself being trained. It all worked out, obviously.
For the veterans Marti worked with in adaptive scuba, the change in ability was one of the hardest things to navigate.
These people were pissed, and they were young. Probably too young to be making these decisions, but they were hotshots. They were absolutely going to go over and kick ass. And that mentality carries over when they come back blown to shit. And now what do? They were gung-ho. They were Harley driving, football playing. These guys were demons in their lives. That's why they thought they could go over and kick ass. Now they come back and they can't do shit. They can't even get out of their wheelchair. What we do is give them an alternative way to get back into the world, doing something. If somebody has been a snot-slinging hog, tearing up the highways left and right, and they come back and they're like, I'll never do anything like that again. Oh, honey, I'll take you to Shark Canyon, diving right down with the sharks. You want some adventure? You want your adrenaline back? I can give you your adrenaline back. Come down to Shark Alley with me. That's what it does. It gives them a purpose, some excitement, an opportunity to re-enter the world as a whole, whether they're whole or not, because the whole is in their head. Their existence, their new reality, it breaks them more than it breaks the people who are, that's not fair, it breaks everyone in the family. But for people who are so suicidal because they have lost all reason to live, because they've been catastrophically injured and have seen horrific things, this gives them peace. It gives them tranquility. It gives them a way to re-engage with the world that doesn't need their arms and legs. I'm telling you, there is no greater adrenaline than minding your business and having a hammerhead slip right by you.
There was one case in particular that really affected Marti.
Jim Elliott, the president and founder of Diveheart, and I were driving to the facility where we were going to do the adaptive dive buddy training. And I'm sitting there, he's telling me stories. I think I was asking him the same question you asked me about how do people find you? And his answer was all kinds of different ways, and he doesn't always know how they found him. But this one story he told me was about a guy, and he had catastrophic amputations of opposing arm and leg and half his face. And that man did not ever want to wake up again. He had tried suicide countless times. His wife was just beyond. She didn't know how to help him. Half the time she probably wanted to kill him herself. But she couldn't bring herself to just let him stay like this. And somehow, and we think that it was probably through one of his doctors, they suggested maybe introduce him to adaptive scuba and see if that helps, gives him something to look forward to. I suspect he was highly resistant.
Where the hell am I? I'm in a hospital somewhere. Why can't I sit up? I looked down at the sheets on me and something didn't look right. They looked too flat on one side. One arm is gone. Christ. Only one good hand left to pull the sheet off. No. They've put pictures in here of me with people I can't remember.
Captain Paris? My name is Dolores. I'm one of your rehab therapists. I thought we could get started on some smaller, contained activities until you're able to get up and around.
Why?
Why what, Captain?
Do you see me? What am I supposed to do? Jump rope? Handsprings? Maybe a few cartwheels?
Well, not for a few weeks anyway.
But it wasn't a joke to me. I didn't know who this lady was, but I was going to tell her where she could go.
We need to get you strong enough to get out of that bed as quickly as possible. The longer you stay there, the more the rest of your body is going to turn to jello.
Let it. She ripped the sheets off me, exposing where my leg used to be.
See? Your reflexes are shot. We've got work to do before we can get you in the gym. Let's start simple.
She withdrew a squeeze ball from her pocket and flung it at my head. I caught it with my good hand on instinct.
Good. Maybe there's more to you than jello, Captain.
Goddamn wheelchair? I tried to hold the door for Stacy and Tyler, but the chair kept smacking the edge. Another family waiting to come in behind us was giving me that look, like I was a dog that got hit on the highway. I could feel sweat on my neck. More people were waiting now. Tyler, my son, was only 5, and he finally did it for me. No one looked at me as they walked in. I didn't have my gun. Stacy had taken it out of the house, and I didn't have any way to drive myself somewhere to get one. I could reach the pill bottles, though. I didn't even bother to check which ones I took. I just downed as much as I could and waited to die.
He was done with the world because the world had crapped on him, and, he didn't want anything to do with anybody.
Still alive. Back in this goddamn hospital. Listening to my heart mock me. Sounds healthy. Tyler brought me a drawing. Me as a transformer. He said if I was like that, I could get out of my wheelchair and be a warrior again.
I'm taking you to a lake.
I hate the water. Ever since drown proofing in basic.
Seems like you hate everything, so what's the difference? Shoot, it's better than being stuck in here, isn't it?
He went along with it.
Soldiers. Wounded. Damaged. Like me. Some even worse. Being helped into wetsuits and gear and rolled from the edge of a pier into the water. The ones with legs just jumped, but wait, that guy doesn't have any legs at all. What are they? Oh my God. They're picking him up and walking to the edge. They threw him in. What the hell? He just popped back up, laughing. What is this? Dolores wasn't taking me for sightseeing.
See those two over there?
Dolores pointed to a man with a dive buddy with scuba gear. A man like me, missing a leg. Jumping off the pier, the two went under the water.
It's called adaptive scuba. Come on in.
I took off my prosthetic leg and hopped to the edge of the pool. I grabbed the metal railing by the steps and ate it straight into the water. Afghanistan couldn't kill me, but now this would? Wouldn't that be perfect? Dolores helped get me to the surface.
You all right?
I'm fine.
You know, Frank, they make waterproof prostheses. It would be a lot easier with 2 arms.
If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it as is.
Marines like things that suck, right?
Hoorah.
There you go.
Why do you care so much?
Someone has to. All the men in my family served. Back to World War II. Up through Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. Like you. Someone has to.
6 weeks later, Dolores helped me put on a wetsuit. There were scuba equipment and air tanks around us.
When you dive without your arm, you'll have to use a weight belt instead of putting lead into your BCD. Might not be a perfect fit, but I want you to get used to having the weight on your back. How do you feel?
Like I'm back over there, wearing Kevlar.
It won't feel like that in the water.
Dolores gave me a mask and snorkel and a single fin.
Scoot up a little. I'm gonna roll you.
Roll me?
Yeah, roll you. What, you scared, big man? I won't hurt you too bad. Unless you keep giving me dirty looks like that. Put some air into your BC. Put your regulator in your mouth and hold your hand over your mask and mouthpiece.
A few weeks later, I was on a 40-foot dive boat. Me and a couple other guys like me. I took my prosthetic leg off and stowed it. Dolores helped me into my shorty wetsuit. My son and wife had come along. I couldn't wimp out now. Dolores helped me to the dive platform and got me seated on the edge. Dolores rolled me off, and it was like another world. A reef, a lobster, a green moray eel, schools of fish. I wasn't the living dead. Down here, I was alive. The world was alive. And if I could have all this, maybe it was worth sticking around just a little longer.
And it saved his life. He is alive now. And it's because he was given the opportunity to rethink his new reality. And that story, through all the training, I went down with Jim and Dive Hard. I went down to the Florida Keys with a group of kids with cerebral palsy. We got them all in the water. We left the wheelchairs on the boat. You couldn't even imagine the faces on these young people when they came up. They were 15 to 21, I think, the age range. Every single one of those kids came up, looked us in the eye, and some of them had severe disabilities, could not possibly function on their own. Every one of those kids came up, looked us in the eye, and said, "No one is ever telling me no again, because I can scuba dive, and they can't." Who knows how to deal with this? You know, the VA is so overwhelmed and underfunded. They can't possibly be of that much help to everyone. And they're more in the mindset of social workers than psychologists whose job it is to find that outlet. So the veterans especially are coming back to an unfriendly world. I think the message is just to get the message out there. Let as many people know that there are life-changing alternatives to their current lives of being disabled or a veteran with so many psychological, emotional, and physical problems that they don't even know how to think about them. This is a way.
Hope Lives Here is a production of Voyage Media. The series is produced by Nat Mundell and Dan Benamor. This episode was executive produced by Marti Wheat, based on her screenplay, Not Forgotten. Story produced by Vince P. Maggio, starring Jonathan Regier and Tracy Lee. Edited, sound designed, and mixed by James Scully. Original music by Derlis Gonzalez. If you're enjoying the show, please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you're listening. And subscribe now for future episodes.